Welcome to Tennis Spin, where we put our spin on your tennis. My buddy Michael Linn walked up to me and said, I bet you I have a racket that you don't know or have never seen before. And I'm like, cool. Lay it on me, buddy. What you got? Right? So he brought it into me and I was like, I know it, but you're going to have to stay tuned. All right, so my buddy Michael Linn was thinking that I may have not seen this racket before or not heard of this racket before, but he and I are about the same age. And he said, I played with this racket in high school and I was like the only person who played with it and may have been the only person who liked it. And I'm like, interesting. Wonder what that was. I was like, is it an Astusa? Is it a Kneissl? Maybe one of those off-brands like Rossignol? He was like, no, none of those. It's a mainstream brand. And he handed it to me. He goes, here. And I was like, oh, you got mono. The mono shaft, Prince Mono. So I was actually at the play testing, or one of the play testings of this racket, probably 30 years ago, maybe a little more. It was actually in one of the clubs that they invited a bunch of people to try out this racket. In that time, this racket was all blacked out. It was a blacked out, unmarked prototype. And they're like, we're gonna market this racket to people who love like Jimmy Connors, you know, that T2000 in modern form, in graphite form. And we were all sitting in the room watching the video of them explaining this thing. And I thought to my head, I was like, everybody's making stiffer rackets, wide bodies. Why are we going backwards? But I kept an open mind. Okay, so we went out to play test it. And I was like, yeah, okay. So here's the thing. When you have a single shaft like this, without the bracing, right, of let's say a regular racket like this, things change. Things change. If you have a bracing like this, right, it actually makes as I've shown you in the past, it makes the sweet spot bigger. So this bracing of each side extends up to make your sweet spot. So anything you hit in this area becomes stiff, right? Therefore, if you see here, your sweet spot is actually about that wide. Okay, what are we talking about? 6 inches, 5-6 inches right there. Okay. When you have a single shaft here, all it's going to do is bend, because look, it's only got this shaft, right, to keep it stiff up here. Therefore, what happens? Your sweet spot actually goes from here on that racket to dropping to the traditional old school wooden racket sweet spot. So this is going to flex. This is going to flex a lot. And your sweet spot is pretty small because of the single shaft. So they actually developed it. I didn't give it a great review, but they went ahead and made it anyways. And they actually made 2 other versions, which were bigger than this. I think they even had a 115 square inch version that was for the game improvers, like the people who needed something bigger and more powerful. So according to this 650 PL on this racket, it's a pretty flexible racket. That's what that means. It might be one of the lowest in the time of all Princes, actually. So I don't remember anything being lower than that. But I'm going to take some numbers from this. It's a pretty old racket. He, pulled it out of his garage, is what I'm guessing. The strings are broken. Even got a grommet popped off. 4.5 grip is what we all used back then. Actually, this is 3/8. It's a 3/8 grip. And so, whoa, I'm surprised you used the 3/8. But he actually gave me 2. The other one's a half. So Michael, you had 2 different grips, buddy. But I'm going to weigh balance and swing weight this thing to see what the numbers are, because I don't know if anybody's ever done that. We just know it's super flexible, okay? Total weight isn't horrible. It's kind of similar to most rackets today. 305 balance is pretty head light. Swing weight's pretty head light. So that's not horrible. For something like this, it's gonna go through pretty quick anyways. So it's gonna be okay, actually. I don't remember what the head size was on this thing, but it looks like it's 100. So what am I gonna do now? I am going to take this old school racket and take it to some new school people. All right, guys, so we're on the court. Got my man, Coach Andrew, my man, Coach Chris. Guys, have you ever had mono before?
Why are you looking at me, man? No. I think you had some.
Well, let's not talk about that right now. Anyways, so let's talk about mono rackets, though. Okay, these single shafted sticks that was supposed to be for the resurrection of Jimmy Connors. Let's see if it's the resurrection of our game right now. All right, guys, so 30 years later, the Prince Mono, meaning mono shaft. Coach Goo, what'd you think?
Very interesting design, first of all. Never played with a racket ever made like this. So it definitely felt a lot on the throat. So when I was swinging, it definitely felt heavy on the head. Surprisingly, felt pretty good. I've never played with this racket, like I said before. Swing's nice. Impact felt good. I don't know. Like this is throwing me off. Like this single shaft here is throwing me off, but it actually played pretty well. Delivered some power, great control, and also some good feel. So really shocked with how it's designed, and wanted to know more about how rackets are made like this. They actually feel pretty nice.
So believe it or not, Coach Goo, don't get shafted by this racket, okay? Wow. It's a single shaft, right? They were trying to imitate a wooden racket. I don't know why they wanted to go backwards with this after like 20 years of graphite, but they felt the need to do it. So
that means a Prince. I mean, what do you expect?
This is true. All right. Let's. Ching, what'd you think, man?
Hitting with this, I felt like immediately I was able to cut through the air pretty quickly. This racket, I could definitely see like how they're trying to bring back the wooden kind of like single shaft of it. I didn't really notice it as much as I was hitting with it. I actually felt like this was a pretty stable racket overall. So maybe they had some kind of like throwback to back in the day for like the wooden racket aired, and they wanted to try to update it with like more of a graphite kind of and model that they've got going on right here. 16 by 19?
16 by 21.
16. Oh, wow. Okay, so 16 by 21. Yeah, definitely that. I guess the extra string pattern is definitely unique to that. Probably the first 16 by 21 racket I've hit with. But I just find it remarkably stable as I was hitting with it. Definitely the single shaft throws you off a little bit, but I think they were trying to give it a little bit more, like going back to the roots of a wooden racket and bringing it back into a modern day tennis racket. So.
All right, so guys, these rackets were around when you guys weren't. So they're 30, maybe 30 plus years old now.
Mm.
So Michael Linn is the one who handed me these and said, give them a shot. And I haven't played with these since I was in high school.
Mm.
So, I mean, 30 years later, we put Solinco Confidential in these, and I feel like they played a lot better today than it did 30 years ago with the nylon-based strings.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So
I never played with nylon, so
yeah, it probably wouldn't play well. To tell you the truth, these play way better with the polys on here.
The pocketed nice too.
Yeah.
Surprisingly,
I was shocked at how well these played with these poly strings, and it probably never even smelled poly strings in its all of its life.
Yeah.
So. The surprising thing to me is that it's actually a 97 square inch head on a 16 by 21, as you were asking about.
It does seem like it.
Yeah, but look at those big squares, though.
They don't seem like 97s.
Yeah, it's spread out really
I thought it was
nicely.
100.
Yeah, right?
I
It
thought
looks
it was
like
100.
102
Yeah.
almost. But shockingly, they played well.
Mm-hmm.
Shockingly. Like, I hated it when it first came out. But now, 30 years later,
With some good strings.
with some good strings
That's good.
and some TLC by me, we got a little love in this racket, so it loves us back now. All right, I'm getting a little melancholy about this old thing. Okay, anyways, but yeah, racket's good. I'm pretty shocked, like I said. Coach Gu liked it. Coach Chris liked it. Hey, that's all we can say. It's actually 30-some years later, and we actually like it now. All right, Coach Gu, thanks for hanging out with me today.
Of course.
Where can we find you?
You can find me at AGU.tennis. I'll also be posting content there as well.
Coach Chris, where can we find you?
You can find me at CB Chen Tennis.
All right. Thank you for watching Tennis Spin, where we put our spin on your tennis.